Let's talk about what was accomplished there with Braver Angels National Ambassador John Wood Jr. John, it's great to have you in because this was just hours after this, and it wasn't just at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. It was also at a school in Texas, and you brought these kids together from the right and from the left, and you had this conversation about gun control. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, that's right, Trace. And so that was St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas, private Catholic university. And so, yeah, in Knoxville and in Austin, we already had on the schedule Braver Angels debates focused in on the subject of the Second Amendment, on assault weapons, whether or not to ban assault weapons. And the thing about it is that these programs were already scheduled, but it just so happened to be the case that the shooting at Covenant took place just a couple of hours before. And, you know, it's something that you're very well aware of. You know, the emotions run so high in political conversation these days, especially on college campuses. It doesn't take a lot to scare some folks away from having the tough debates, but our students did it, working with organizations like Bridge USA, the American Council for Trustees and Alumni. We had wonderful faculty and partners involved, but it was the students who led the conversations, debating with dignity the hard issues that are tearing our politicians and pundits apart.
Did they actually have robust debate? I mean, was it reasoned? Was it passionate and persuasive? They weren't calling names. They weren't calling each other names, right?
Oh, it was all of those things. The Braver Angels debates program, designed by my colleague April Lawson, it focuses in on intellectual honesty, the communal pursuit of truth, prioritizing truth over owning and destroying the libs or the Republicans or whatever the case may be. And when you're serious about the issues, that's what you have to do. You had conservative students who found common ground on things like background checks and training for gun ownership. You had liberal students who confessed that they didn't realize that assault rifles, the terminology, didn't really talk about a specific type of gun, that there's all sorts of guns that they didn't know anything about that influenced the way they might think about a policy solution to the issues. And so people had to dig deep to understand just where their own knowledge fell short and how they might be able to advance the conversation. Yeah,
it's interesting because FoxNews.com wrote the following here. In the U.S., it is not legal to own a flamethrower, nor is it illegal to own a machine gun. Talking about President Biden has previously said that the Second Amendment also banned the ownership of cannons when it was passed back in 1791, but that too has been debunked. There's a lot of misinformation that gets in some of these debates, and when you're kind of moderating these things, it's tough to get both sides in.
Well, this is why we have to be in conversation with each other, right? Because nobody trusts the other person's sources, nobody trusts the other person's preferred politicians or what have you. But when we're looking each other in the eye, and the way you and I are doing right now, Trace, we give ourselves the opportunity to actually bump up against each other's reality in real time. And if there's trust there, if there's goodwill, there's the opportunity to open some ears and to open some minds. And that's what we do at Braver Angels.
Opening ears is key because you have to at least listen to the other person before you give your advice instead of just shouting them down. John Wood Jr., great to have you on as always. Thank you.
Yes, sir.